Good evening. At this time, I'd like to call the March Planning Commission meeting to order. And we will take roll, please.
Dana Camp,
Here.
Nanette Reese,
Here.
Wendy Birmingham, David Wisdom,
Here.
Joseph Astrup,
Here.
Bill Chancellor,
Here.
Jennifer Stevens, Oscar Mosley,
Here.
Walker Davis.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we are going to take a couple of minutes to let everyone get inside the room as well as seated, and we will begin again in just a few.
I guess like, you guys, if you.
Good evening, and thank you all for joining us. It looks like we might have a class in the back. That's great. What a fun one to attend. I think it's good for you. I think I love it. We have already done roll call and know that a quorum is currently in place. At this time, I would like to start with a statement for the Auburn City Planning Commission. The commission will be presented with agenda items by the city staff. The representative or applicant for the agenda item will then have the opportunity to make comments and/or answer specific questions from the commission. A public hearing will be opened as appropriate, and this will be the opportunity for you to address the commission about the agenda item at hand. We want everyone to be heard. We do ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes and relevant to the case at hand. After everyone has spoken, a public hearing will be closed, and once closed, the public will not have the ability to have additional comments. The representative, applicant, and staff will then have the opportunity to answer questions and respond to any comments brought up during the public hearing. The commission will then vote based on state and local laws and the city's comprehensive plan 2030. In addition, I'd like to summarize our role and responsibility related to the approval of subdivision plats. By Alabama statute, a municipal planning commission, such as ours, is the final approval authority for subdivision plats. The commission acts as an administrative body and is bound by the limitations of state laws and city zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulations previously adopted by this commission. While public hearings are required on most plats, please understand that the commission's authority is strictly limited to confirming that the plat meets or exceeds the specific requirements codified in laws and regulations previously described. Finally, I'd like to make a point for the public in attendance. As you know, the Planning Commission is an advisory board to the City Council, except in the case of subdivision plats. All other decisions will be made by City Council after consideration of the Planning Commission's position. Thank you. Please remember to sign in and state your name and address for the record when you approach the podium. Thank you. At this time, I would like to open it to citizens' communication. This is if you have anything that you'd like to discuss in front of the Planning Commission that is not on tonight's agenda. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Jessie Sheely.
Can you pull the microphone down, please?
Absolutely. I'm Jessie Sheely, resident of 1962 Miracle Road. All of you have seen me at some point in time, and thank you all for your service, that you do a great job for the city of Auburn. I am a native of Auburn, and the concern that I have tonight is, of course, Miracle Road. Someone, and I do earnestly believe that it was sincerely by accident, poured truckloads of gravel at this size. May I approach, please?
If you can give it to Justice, please.
Someone poured truckloads of gravel that's inappropriate for normal, regular cars to go over. And the reason why I say I believe that this is by accident, because they came back and removed as much of it as they possibly could. However, there's still remnants of what they have poured. And my vehicle has to go over that gravel each and every day, which has certainly caused a problem for my tires. It literally, that size gravel traveling over it every day has chewed up my tires and has caused it to be out of alignment. I have spoken with this gentleman as well as this gentleman here. I have a call in to Dan Ballard, who I believe is the Public Works Director, and also I haven't had a chance to get with Autry, but I do plan to contact them as well. But I do want to bring this issue to the board to sincerely ask for consideration. Can be in the future. I know the city of Auburn have more pertinent and more important developments that you're trying to get through your agenda to push through to get those taken care of first. But I earnestly ask each and every one of you to consider my request of paving Miracle Road at some point in time. I know this might be a costly issue. I'm willing to do whatever I need to do financially. Little people don't have a whole lot of money like rich and wealthy people do. However, being a citizen, being a resident of Miracle Road, I'm willing to contribute as much as I possibly can to get our road paved at some point. Perhaps there may be a grant that I can assist in writing to get government support behind this. Whatever is necessary, I just want the committee to please help us to get Miracle Road paved, as well as please help me get someone out there to at least remove the remnant of that large gravel so that my car doesn't have to continuously go over that gravel. Either way I go, left or right, there's still piles of gravel still there that I do have to go over on a daily basis to get where I need to go. So that is my comments tonight, and I just want to thank you again and thank these two gentlemen. They certainly, especially this gentleman here, he certainly has made himself available when he could to hear the concerns and issues that I have with the road. I don't want the road closed. There's a lot of traffic that go in and out of the road, and I think it will be essential as we develop out that way, especially with the new school, fire department, etc. As we enhance the city of Auburn, I do think that road will become essential as well. So thank you all again for your time and listening to me. I appreciate each and every one of you who serve on the board. Y'all are fantastic. And may God bless each and every one of you. Take care.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shealy. Anyone else like to speak on citizens' communication at this time? Seeing no one, we will move on with our agenda items. And there is no old business, and we'll move to consent agenda, which tonight is made up of our packet and regular meeting minutes from our February meetings, as well as a final plat for Talmadge subdivision, final plat for Quail Chase Phase 2, final plat for Dawson Villas Phase 3, final plat for Longleaf Crossings Phase 7, final plat for Maddox Street redivision, and annexation of Mitchell Farms 2.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, we will move to new business.
All right, so just kind of like I mentioned, we're kind of operating with a bit of a skeleton crew here, so I'll be doing a good bit of, I think I got like the next 5 or 6 items actually. So just with this, the applicant brought something to be handed out, so I'll give that to you. I'll pass that down. All right, yep, so if you just go to the next slide, thank you. So this is a rezoning request for Spring Creek Estates. The recommendation is the City Council for a rezone of approximately 1.2 acres from Neighborhood Conservation NC 20 to Neighborhood Conservation NC 14. All right, so generally located South College, and so you guys see this is a NC 20 parcel that is bordering a NC 14 neighborhood, and so for everybody in the audience, NC 20 means a lot minimum of 20,000 square feet, roughly a half acre. NC 14 means a lot minimum of 14,000 square feet, which is roughly a third of an acre. All right, so the future land use designation for this area is neighborhood preservation. The difference between the NC 14 and NC 20 are really just the lot minimum sizes. The use allowed is single family housing in both. No other uses are permitted. This would not change uses in any way. This would only slightly increase the density from allowing third of an acre lots versus half acre lots. And so pretty much just kind of on the staff side, the rezoning, like I said, doesn't affect the use at all. It really just kind of allows there to be an extra lot to be created. If they were to subdivide, they can already subdivide under the current zoning district. They would just get less lots essentially, and I think the difference is only 1 lot. So what you guys are looking at is kind of what their proposed subdivision would be. That's not something that staff's had chance to review. That's something that they have submitted, kind of with some input from the initial pre-app, and so what you guys are looking at here is just the floodplain floodway that would be present on the lots should there be a rezoning and should there be a future subdivision. So with that, turn it over to y'all for any questions.
And this is, NC 14 is nearby. It is on 2 sides of it? Is that
Correct. And so I know that we got some citizens communication just kind of alleging that this would be spot zoning. So if you can go back to the original one, yeah, the next one right there. All right, so spot zoning is normally if there's no contiguity with the existing zoning district that you decide to rezone to. This is touching NC 14 on both sides. It would really just pick up another lot. if we were going across the street with NC-14, I can see how that would be spot zoning. There's no precedent for that. But touching NC-14 on two sides and also just trying to subdivide, like I said, not changing uses by any way, this would not be a great disturbance under any means by rezoning this to NC-14 from just a purely rezoning standpoint. And so to me, rezoning, like I said, from NC to NC doesn't change uses, only slightly affects the density. Like I said, and also the future land use is also compliant as well.
Is the applicant here? If he'd like to see.
Hey, how you doing? Brandon Hayes, Heartbrook Development. Happy to answer any questions you guys have. My engineers are here as well if y'all have questions for them. The intent here is we've got the parcel to the north under contract as well. It is also NC-14. And so we're kind of trying to create one 5-home, single-family development that's going to be really pretty nice is the intent, I would imagine. Very similar to Carmela Court. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but on the corner of Sanford and Moores Mill, that's really the intent behind what we're trying to do.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I do. Where's the shared drive?
So each parcel currently has a driveway. So the north parcel would share a single driveway, and then the south parcel, the 3 units on the south parcel would share one driveway. The 2 units on the north parcel would share another driveway. So there would be 2 driveways, but they're already existing. They're already tied into South College.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just, we did get an email from a lady that was south of the one that you've requested to be rezoned. And it was my understanding she's already sharing the driveway with someone else that is with whoever's on it right now.
The apron on South College is shared, but then the driveway splits as it comes off the apron.
Right. On these 3, we're talking about 3 lots on
Yes,
that.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Splitting it. Where is the driveway? On this, I don't see.
It would be on the furthest.
Yeah, I feel like it's
south-
on the southern property line.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it wouldn't be shown here tonight because this is rezoning and.
Well, I know that. I know that. I'm perfectly well know that.
And we have already worked with the engineering department and gotten the driveway waivers approved, and like they have approved where we want to put the driveways should we get it rezoned.
But in essence, you'll have 4 people sharing this entrance
Yeah.
and exit.
3.
The
yes,
one to
sir.
the south,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
The one that's
Four
already
people
there.
that would be sharing the
Four-
apron.
four
and then-
residences.
And then it splits.
Well, I mean,
from
there's
there.
still 4 people who are going to enter and exit off of College
Right.
in that same spot, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a shared drive.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, with respect to the flood zone, are all 3 of these homes in the flood zone, or just one of them?
Currently, the 1 unit is not in the flood zone. If
Okay.
we were to have this rezoned, we would have to go back and work with the city engineering department. What we have proposed is what's called a clomer and a lomer process, which is where we kind of amend the flood zone map, where we offer compensatory storage in one area of the lot in order to fill in the floodplain on a separate part of the lot to allow us to build either like a raised slab foundation or a slab foundation. If we can't do that, then these would be built on a floodable crawl space. They would still be built
Right.
in the flood zone,
Right.
but the finished floor elevation would be out of the flood zone.
Okay.
Yeah, and so to kind of provide context for what y'all are looking at, so what y'all have has the lines on it where it talks about the different buffer zones of upland, stream buffer. That's something that's super technical, and so there are pretty much those designations, and some of them you can encroach upon, but in others that you can't. I'm going to turn it over to Water Resource Management if you guys have further questions about just kind of like what those differences were, and as far as constructing in them or not. So. Where's Chris at? Yeah. Can you? Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Here's some
that was sufficient for me, really.
All right.
Just want to
Right.
understand how much.
But I do have questions for him. I'd like to know how it's going to affect, because in our staff report, it states that this will probably have impact downstream.
Yeah, so I really need to pitch that to Dan. He's the one that kind of handles all the stormwater. I can just speak to the stream buffer encroachment itself.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're talking about, the same things. So there are stream buffers that the Water Resource Management Department enforces, but there's also floodplain on this lot, and those are based on the FEMA, the firm panels that exist currently. So I believe the comment was that it would likely impact the floodplain if they were to subdivide and try to develop in it. Impact meaning, I don't know at this point, because we haven't evaluated that. I mean, like he was mentioning, there are various options that could be employed to elevate above the floodplain. I mean, there's shared access coming off the driveway, so, I don't know how the lots are going to necessarily be configured, so the structures could be moved around on that site to minimize the impacts. But once we know exactly what they're doing and, what the amounts of fill may be that would go in the floodplain, the amounts of fill that will be removed from the floodplain, if any, I mean, because they can elevate or do, the flood vents and floodable cross bases. So there's just a lot of factors that'll come into play after this, and they'll just have to meet the requirements that would allow them to build in the locations they're proposing.
Any other questions?
Yeah, which way is the water flow?
South.
Okay. Would there have to be any kind of study or, as part of the process to look at how this might, interrupt the floodplain and affect the homes that
Yeah.
are already in the floodplain?
Yes, sir.
Next to it?
Yes, sir. We have already engaged a floodplain expert out of Birmingham. We had a Zoom call Tuesday, I think it was, Dan, with Dan and his team, and are actively working through that. And we'll continue to do so should we get the zoning to move forward with this development. But he will run models and put all that together and work in conjunction with the city engineering department to make sure there are no adverse effects downstream.
Okay, this does require a public hearing, so we'll go ahead and do that. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for Spring Creek Estates. If you would like to speak on this agenda item tonight, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Corey Reynolds. I'm here kind of representing the Talon Court neighborhood, which is sitting just south of this parcel that is being looked at about 5 blocks down.
And your address?
733 South College. So Talon Court, as you all may know, are the white houses that kind of sit on South College. It also is a mini subdivision per se. I don't know if this was kind of being built with that in mind. The lots in our neighborhood are about 3/4 of an acre each on average or so. And then there's also a 7th lot, which is used for detention of water issues because of the same floodplain and many other things that are there. So we already have 6 lots in there that are being built on, and then a 7th lot that is unbuildable because of water issues. We all sit again on almost 3/4 of an acre each. This is a 1-acre parcel, to my knowledge, which is already being looked at being subdivided into half-acre parcels per allowances, and then they further want to subdivide it into 3rd acre, which is very small. If you look at the map, most of the houses sit on about a 1-acre or 3/4 acre lots all the way down the row of South College. So this would be much more high-density, condensed houses on a very small parcel of land, side by side, which is not at all what the rest of South College looks like. So it would be something very different from what is already there as far as the aesthetics of the street. There's lots of new development coming in. I know the last few lots that have been sold on South College have been quite expensive, and they're being old houses being torn down, big houses being built, so this would be something in a very different direction, to have much smaller parcels of land, and also questioning how high those houses are going to go to get square footage, which again just breaks up the continuity of the street. So those are our concerns for our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, comments, questions, motions?
Couple questions. So if this is rezoned and it's subdivided, will that come back to us?
No, so it's under six lots. So the recent subdivision amendments, I guess, I'm blanking on that. Yeah. So the recent subdivision amendments, we upped our admin plat threshold to six lots, and so we upped it to 6 from 4 to be in line with the state guidance of what's allowed from the state of Alabama.
My other question is about shared driveways. So we're potentially seeing 4 residences sharing a driveway. Is that a concern? Should that be a concern of ours? Is it something that we have approved other places?
Yes, I mean, this is generally the preference on a street like this, an arterial roadway and even collectors. I mean, we have curb cut spacing in place so that, you know, when you do have developments like this, that's accessing multiple units, you know, this is more in line with what we prefer to see than individual curb cuts for each one. So, when possible and when it makes sense, yeah, this is something that we would like to see.
But it's a driveway as opposed to a street. And so when you have, all of a sudden you have 5 driveways versus 2, you're still going to have the same number of people stopping to get into a drive cut, even though it's not a different drive cut, even though it's not a different cut in the road. And so I don't see that that's really accomplishes that much for you.
In our staff report was listed for traffic that they thought it was would definitely be an impact on the traffic to have that many developments off of one driveway.
It's the same difference.
Yeah.
You got the same number
It's the
of
same,
cars.
yeah, it is the same number of trips. The point of the limiting curb cuts and having the spacing requirement, it's just reducing the number of potential conflict points. So, I mean, in theory, you could have, if you had 5 separate driveways, you could have 5 people trying to come out at once, taking turns. I mean, those are all potential conflict points.
Okay.
So the less of those you have,
Okay.
and generally speaking, it's a better scenario in terms of accident potential, so.
But
Well-
on this busy of a street,
Yeah.
one of the busiest in town, the potential is for 4 people trying to get out at the same time, 4 or 5 people trying to get in at the same time. Does that not cause concern for the city?
I mean, it causes concern in that, yeah, it's a little bit more than it was, but we go through the analyses. I actually looked at the warrant analyses for various things in this location. It's just, there's so few number of trips or something like this that it just doesn't trigger, you know, the types of improvements you see on a larger development. I mean, these are residential houses, single family. The average generation on these is about 10 trips a day. The average trip for one house during peak hours is 1 trip. So, you know, it basically comes down to like either a 1/2 of a turn, depending on which direction you're coming from. You got 1 turn in per unit per peak hour that can either be coming from the north or the south. So, I mean, you're just dealing with such a few number of trips that it just doesn't trigger the warrants for, you know, anything more than what they've got. And we do see these kind of things. I mean, there's some relatively recent ones down Moore's Mill. Once you get into the county section of it, where they've, you know, they have the same thing when it comes to curb cut requirements. They're not going to let you have a bunch of curb cuts on the street like that at that high speed. So they've required a very similar situation where you have one driveway with a shared access that splits off and accesses multiple homes.
I'm no expert on floodplains, but, you know, I'm a little concerned about disturbing, again, the floodplain in this area. And so what kind of, I mean, is this a big deal mitigation that has to go on here, or is this something that's run of the mill, or can you characterize it? I mean, to me, it seems like all of a sudden things are going just fine, and now you've got all these other houses that are on the floodplain, and you're going to disturb it again and maybe make it worse for everybody all the way around. I guess, you know, that's kind of where I'm going with that.
I wouldn't say it's run of the mill. I mean, anytime there's proposed to be development in a floodplain, it has to get looked at and scrutinized pretty
So
carefully.
who looks at it besides the city? Is there other agents, you know, like you mentioned FEMA, I mean, is that
I would say, I'm just rounding, but 90% of the time FEMA's going to be involved in a situation like this. So there are some scenarios where it's such a small impact and it's pretty specific that, you know, they can do it without necessarily involving FEMA through one of their formalized processes. But
and so what are they looking for as an outcome on a, you know, like, okay, I'm gonna put this in there and I want it to look like it should when it's done? What kind of, I mean, looking for certain flow that doesn't change from what it is now, or what are they looking for in terms of the outcomes?
I mean, in a nutshell, that's kind of the big picture. But yeah, they have to go through a HEC-RAS model, which is software. So they'll do a lot of surveying. They'll have to model the cross sections of everything, match it up with the existing studies, you know, update it where possible with new data, run that model, create the new boundaries, new flows, new floodplain, everything, look at it, fill out a lot of forms, submit it to us, then we have to look at it, approve it, sign some of those forms and forward it on the
And that
FEMA.
impacts what the structure's gonna look like when all is said and done.
Yeah, that's just a process for them to basically propose what they want to do, right? Then it would go to FEMA and it's sort of a preliminary process, like a conditional process. They review it, they've got like 90 days to look at it. They'll send it back with comments and, you know, if there's any modifications needed, you know, sort of approve, reject it, or modify it at that point. And that basically, when they get all that sort of finalized, allows them to actually go out there and start doing what they want to do. And then when it's done, at the end, they have to go back and as-built everything to verify that it was done according to what was approved by FEMA.
Okay, so it sounds pretty rigorous.
It is, and one of the first steps is getting everything modeled correctly, and you know, that model will tell you basically what the steps need to be, and without digging too deep into it. I mean, when you talk about rise of floods, if it's rising 1/10 of a foot, that triggers it to have to go through a pretty rigorous process. So,
And there's the 1,000-year flood, you know, sort of thing, okay, all right. You know, the other thing on this that I'm a little bit concerned about that was mentioned, interestingly enough, character of the development in this area. You know, I thought the character, I was kind of concerned about Talon Court myself when that went in. And so, you know, I think that's a valid concern going forward with this one.
What is, applicant, yes, I have a question for you. Yes, if you'll come forward, please, I have a question for you as well. What is the total of both lots?
Total acreage of both lots, I think it's close to 2, maybe 1.9. Yeah. It would be 5/3 of an acre lots. Actually, a couple of the lots will be over 1/3 of an acre, so it'll be closer to 2. Yeah. I was just going to suggest, I know Mr. Davis mentioned, you know, would we have to come back if this were to get approved at any point? I don't know per y'all's rules, but we would be willing to offer, if you could make that a condition, that we, you know, if you approve the zoning, we can come back and present it almost like a PUD process of some sort, if that's a sticking point.
Oh, yeah. So I guess applicants can go to planning commission, I guess, if they so choose. But so I guess if y'all want, if the applicant would volunteer to send an admin plat to the planning commission, they could do that.
Okay.
It has to be a condition from us, though.
It doesn't have to be a condition. I mean, it's something they could do, yeah.
Let me ask you, how large of structures do you plan to put on here? How many square feet?
They're going to be, you know, probably 3,500 square feet.
So they're going to be pretty big, going to fill up the lot,
They
right?
won't be as big as Talon's Court. I
Right.
mean, they're going to still have some nice green space. And there's a 75-foot building setback on this particular lot. It's actually deeded that way. So they'd be 75, I said 75, 65 feet. 65-foot building setback when this property was deeded back in the 1930s.
Okay.
That runs with the
Yeah.
land.
Yeah.
So none of these houses can be built closer than 65 feet to South College.
Any other questions for applicants or staff? questions, comments, motions, commissioners?
I'm not going to support this change. The developer can already subdivide as it is. He may not get the number of lots he wants with the NC 20. The reasons I have is, and I know we're looking at rezoning, but with rezoning comes the number of subdivision of lots. In our staff report, it says there could be an impact to traffic, and I agree with that. The floodplain down and the lots down below that, south of it. And I also agree with the neighborhood preservation that's for stable existing neighborhoods with existing density and housing types. So for those reasons, I won't be supporting it.
Here to make a motion for the floor to be voted on?
I'll make a motion to just get it started here and move to approve case RZ 2025-001 Spring Creeks Estates.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And all those in favor
Aye.
and opposed?
Aye.
Tiffany, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Nanette Reese,
Yes.
Dana Kemp,
No.
Bill Chancellor,
No?
David Wisdom,
Yes.
Joseph Astrup,
No.
Jennifer Stevens,
No.
Oscar Mosley,
Yes.
Walker Davis.
No.
Thank you. This goes to Planning Commission, City Council.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
No.
Okay. It was, thank you. Next up, preliminary plat.
Yeah. All right, we can go to the next. All right, there we go. All right, here we go. All right, so this is Northern Pines preliminary plat. Preliminary plat approval for 74 lot performance residential development, 68 townhomes, 3 open space lots, and 2 future commercial development lots. This is up at the corner of Farmville and 280. And so if you guys remember, this came in annexation, rezone, then to a PDD, and then they also had a increased buffer to achieve extra density to meet their numbers. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. All right, and then the next one. Okay, so the townhomes are concentrated in the back. If y'all remember, this was rezoned to DDH with the PDD overlay. Like I said, they added extra buffer space to achieve the density that they were after. All right, so the maximum density permitted for performance residential development in DDH district is 5.5 dwelling units per acre. The 68 residential lots on the subject property provide a density of 4.8 dwelling units an acre. So this is below the allowed density, and all performance residential uses were approved as a part of the master development plan. So however, the approval to designate the plan development district overlay granted 10% increase in the base zone density to achieve the density with the exchange of the underserved buffers. And so if you guys look at the lots, like the lots towards the front up on Farmville Road, those were specifically left out for future development. There is an MUD tied to this as well. And then there's also the commercial part just at the corner of Farmville and 280. All right. There are no significant comments from staff. There was just a condition, just that they follow through on the 20-foot underserved buffer as a part of the exchange of the PDD.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Thank you. This does require a public hearing for Northern Pines, a preliminary plat. If you'd like to come forward and speak on this agenda item, please do so.
Hey,
Good evening.
good evening. How are y'all? I'm Becky Thornton, and we are at 320 Flagstone. I asked at the planning or where did this come from before?
It was a planning commission. You were here. I remember you.
Okay, I was like, wait, I'm getting my meetings confused. we asked about the two driveways or the road end stops, if those could be done with something with those. Those do directly just butt both of them straight into our property. I'm sorry, but you know how people are. They're just gonna go, hey, this road ends. Hey, these people haven't done something with this because it is wooded, part of our yard. People are just gonna come wander. We can put up fence, we can put up no trespassing signs. You know how construction workers are. They just see that, and residents, they just see both of those as, hey, I can cross over here. This must be no man's land. This must not be anybody's property. We are 12 acres. I think it was stated before, this was lotted as Tuscany Hills. We don't touch Tuscany Hills. This was lotted as Stonewood Farms. The developers went, whatever they did, they put their lots up for, this land up for sale. We purchased it as one lump chunk. I mean, so if something can be done with those roads. I know city wants road flow here, here, and here. We've dealt with that before in the past on other lots, but I don't know how you want to close them. I mean, y'all put up barricades? Do you put up, I don't know what to call it, a closed cul-de-sac-ish that you can open up if one day in 100 years we sell the property? I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're not intending on selling anytime soon.
Do you
So
use Flagstone as your driveway?
we do. That is our driveway off of Flagstone because we cannot get a 280 access because there is a guardrail on our property, on the 280, because there's a gully and there's a guardrail. The water comes under the road from where the county used to have their dump.
Okay.
So we use Flagstone as our driveway.
Okay.
That's all I have. I know this is just zoning part, but as far as going forward, those two. That's all. I mean, y'all are gonna they're gonna put in how many houses they want to, but you know.
Okay.
The others.
I understand what you're requesting.
Okay. but, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Public hearing, anyone else would like to speak on this item?
I'm Mark Rumpf. We live at 2801 East Farmville, the large lot. The large lot, right up there on the road
To the left of the development?
to the south.
Due south, got it. That is to the left of it in my brain.
What is the offset that they have to have? Those lots come right up to our property line.
Excuse me. So public hearings aren't Q&As. So if you have a question, you can state it, and then we'll answer it at the end of the public hearing.
Okay.
So so you want to know the setback? All right.
What are the setbacks? And then also, what are the rules around the wetland? There's a creek that runs right there where they're proposing their driveway.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Please don't forget to sign in. Making notes. Anyone else like to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing no one. Setbacks, wetlands, and connectivity. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did close the public hearing. Close the public hearing, yes.
If you can ask the wetland question first, and I'll get your answer on the setbacks.
Wetlands. How, I guess, is that water resource or engineering?
There's a standard approach to dealing with that, right?
That's right. This is yours, Dan? Sorry. I'll just take a seat.
Might as well.
Welcome to the front row.
Yeah, that's right. There is a standard approach for all developments of this nature. They are required to delineate any wetlands, and there will be mitigation if there's an impact from the development.
Which are also standard. I mean, there's certain.
That's right. That's
okay.
right. It's just standard process.
And that mitigation is required, permitted through the Corps of Engineers, not us.
Correct.
But they have to provide that information to us before we'll approve the development.
Okay. And engineering, connectivity. what are, I don't even know what our options would be for this particular 12-acre section
Yeah,
next
so
door.
I was trying to find the locations when she was, initially talking about this, so I may need some clarity on what, I understand the concern, I believe, but maybe what the request is.
I think she wants barriers on those
We're
roads.
talking
the
about
end.
the stub out that's shown.
On this stub
the
out, yeah.
plan.
Yeah,
And is the stub out a requirement from the city from a connectivity standpoint, or is that not something that is?
can we just put a
Yeah, some stub outs have a
roundabout?
or
Yeah,
some stub outs.
sometimes
Cul-de-sac.
there's
Cul-de-sac.
like a header
Cul-de-sac.
curb or something there. It just depends on which direction it's flowing and ended up and what's on the other side of it,
Cul-de-sac.
whether you need to dissipate some runoff or whatever. Yeah, I mean, we can do something like that. I mean, it's been done before.
Okay, does that need us to put anything on this as a comment or condition? No?
Or can we have,
It would have a little more teeth to it if you did.
Okay, and where to?
And just before you move on, just to clarify, you're going to block off the two stub outs that we're seeing on the streets? Is that the,
There's only one.
or the one, excuse me?
Oh, yeah, I
Thought
see
you
it.
said
I
two,
see
No.
it
yeah.
down there, yeah.
Wouldn't say block them, not like a permanent block them off. It's
Right.
just, it's more of a, like a curb, basically,
Okay.
across the end
Alright.
of it. It would just deter, I think the concern was that, you might get some rogue
Yeah,
traffic
yeah.
that might accidentally go
Right.
down there and not
Okay.
realizing.
Right.
But it would help deter stuff like that.
All right, clear, thank you.
And we're to you.
It has to
All right.
Setbacks.
Perfect. All right, so front and side streets are 10 feet, side end units is 10 feet, and then rear are 15 feet.
So from the closest point to his particular lot would be 15 feet?
Yes, but then there's also the buffers that go around it as well, and so that's 20 feet is the number you should think of, not the
I think
15.
he was talking about lot 16.
Right. Yeah, that's what.
That seems to be touching.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And so there's a buffer that's under it. I guess I could measure it with the scale real quick. Give me a second.
There's no setback for the property, there's a setback for the structure.
Right.
Right, so
Right.
you're looking at the property, not the structure. So there's a 15-foot minimum building setback, there's a 20-foot required buffer as part of the PDD on this.
Okay.
And so then the structure would have to be a minimum of 20 feet away back there, on that side. In regards to, I think, the question that was being asked in regards to what we do with the road stubs, I think that's something, if you guys want to make sure that people can't drive through there, I feel like DRT and us can figure that out during there. I don't, if you say in your, your condition that we work on trying to form some form of a blocking, that's fine. I don't want you guys to get so specific that it ties our hands.
Technical.
And we
Yeah.
come back here
Okay.
to get you guys to approve a technicality in your language. So,
Okay.
the goal is to never, when we do these things, to make them in a way that people can traverse to them. The city wants us to pave it as close as we can to the property line so that they're not picking up the tab in the future. Yet there's grade issues, the world's not flat, especially not out here. And so there's going to be some separation in regards to like where the property ends or where our road ends and the property just do with grades and all that kind of stuff. But if the intent is for us to form some kind of a barrier to prevent somebody from driving onto their property, that's not an issue, and we're more than happy to do that. And then, like they said, streams and wetlands are governed by the federal government, not at the local level. And so that's a federal requirement that we have to go through and permit through. And we're already have started those applications. So, but happy to answer any questions if you got any others. Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners?
So how do we want to handle that last condition?
I think it's a condition.
Yeah.
Words.
I move to approve preliminary plat 2025-004 with the condition of some type of barrier put on at the stub outs at the end of Arabelle Street and Croft Drive.
And I think we had another condition that staff had. Did you?
And with any staff conditions on the report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have preliminary plat, Longleaf Crossing Phase 8.
Thank you. All right, so it's a preliminary plat approval for a 12-lot performance residential development, 10 townhouse lots, future development lot, and 1 remnant parcel. All right, so this is a part of master development plan. So the future land use designation for the subject property is PDD. The designation is defined as existing area zoned as PDD, plan development district, and the College Crossing PDD approved for this area for medium density residential with an average density of 5.5 dwelling units an acre. And so the updated master development plan for the PDD shows the existing phases and the project's total dwelling units for future. It also provides an updated planned street network. So this is relevant. Every time that we get any subdivisions associated with an existing MDP, there must be an updated MDP associated with it as well. And so that also goes with the requirement that there is 15% open space dedicated at the time of that subdivision. And so that's why you see the condition associated with this preliminary plat as well, that the 15% open space is something that is deeded with the subdivision by the time it goes to final plat. So that's something that just needs to be figured out. And so the total number of units is in line with the approved PDD master plan, and the proposed subdivision is 13.8 dwelling units an acre without considering the future development lot, and 5.29 dwelling units an acre considering the future development lot. So that point, it was in consent agenda. They're part of the same phase, you know, they just kind of come in pieces. And so that was one of the things that there was a lot of internal discussion around, that we had a lot of discussion with the applicant about, of how we were going to sort it out and just kind of moving forward. And so that's why, once again, just kind of referencing the condition at the back end of the report that the 15% has to be included with it. And so and so then you also have just the maximum staging of the density with 14, and so, you know, we're kind of bumping up against it. And so so this phase is townhomes and so this phase is townhomes, and it'll shrink off that number. But once again, when they do come in to further subdivide, like I said, we'll get an updated master development plan, and we'll get the 15% submitted as well. And so the updated master development plan was submitted in accordance with this, and then we will get the 15% figured out by the time we go to final plat. So then with that, turn over to y'all for any questions.
Is the applicant here? Thank you. This does require a public hearing. I will open the public hearing for Longleaf Crossing Phase 8. If you would like to speak on this agenda item, please come forward. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Commissioners, comments, questions, motions?
I move to approve preliminary plat 2025-005 with staff conditions.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I have preliminary plat, Links Crossing Phase 5.
All right. So preliminary plat approval for a 14-lot, single-family, conventional residential subdivision. Okay, so this property is zoned DDH, and so just kind of at the outset, the difference between conventional and performance. Performance requires that there's open space dedicated with it. Conventional does not. All right, you just want to go forward. All right. So the future land use plan designation shown in the future land use map comp plan 2030 is low to medium density residential. This is in line with that. The proposed density of the development is 3.34 dwelling units per acre. The maximum density permitted in the DDH zoning district for conventional residential uses is 4 dwelling units per acre. The proposed use of a single family residential with 3.4 dwelling units an acre is in line with DDH zoning district and the low medium density residential future land use plan. So there are no conditions associated with this one. There was just general staff comments.
Okay. This preliminary plat does require a public hearing for Links Crossing Phase 5. If you would like to speak on this agenda item, please come forward. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Commissioners.
Move to approve the preliminary plat for PP 2025-2006.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Oh, look. A new face.
Yes, good evening.
Thank goodness.
This next request before you is for preliminary plat approval for a 136 lot performance residential subdivision. Includes 18 twin home lots, 114 townhouse lots, 3 open space lots, and 1 subdivision amenity lot. The subject property is located at the current terminus of Hickory Woods Drive, and it's just under 21 acres in size. The zoning district for this property is Comprehensive Development District, it's CDD. This zoning has been on the property since the current zoning ordinance was adopted in 1984. And twin home and townhouses are both permitted uses in this zoning district. The future land use designation for the property is low-density residential, which recommends a density of 4 dwelling units an acre. However, the zoning, the CDD zoning allows up to 9.5 dwelling units an acre. And while there is a discrepancy between these two, the zoning takes precedence over the future land use, which makes it appropriate to approve a plat when there's a conflict between the two. This next exhibit is a copy of the proposed plat. The 132 residential lots equals a density of 6.3 dwelling units an acre. The CDD zoning district, like I said, would allow up to 9.5 dwelling units an acre, which would permit up to 198 units on the property. For a performance residential development in CDD, the open space requirement is 25% of the overall property. This would equal about 5.2 acres, and the applicant has shown approximately 30% of the property as open space. This is about 6.5 acres. The majority of the lots, where do I push forward? There we go. The majority of the lots will take access from a number of private streets in the development. 1 here, 1, 2, 3 here, and 2 here. However, for public streets, our subdivision regulations require the continuation and connection of streets between adjoining properties. This helps to establish a more even distribution of traffic and improves the provision of emergency services. The stub out to Hickory Woods Drive that was approved as part of the 1987 plat for Hickory Woods Estates indicates the intent to provide that future connection. And this plat takes that connection for the public street of Hickory Woods Drive and extends it through the subject property to Kent Drive. And a traffic study has been submitted and is currently under review by staff. There is a 10-foot buffer required around the perimeter of the site, except for the eastern portion here adjacent to the commercial development on East University Drive. The staff report mentions a request from Parks and Rec to increase the buffer on the south side adjacent to Dennius Park. And since the staff report was published, the applicant has proposed improvements to this buffer area. Those include an increase in the required buffer from 10 to 20 feet along this portion abutting, I can't remember the name of this subdivision. It's townhomes and single family here. And then a 5 to 6 foot wrought iron metal style fence here abutting Dennius Park. There'll be a gate on the fence with a pedestrian access easement to the sidewalk here along the public street that will connect up to Kent Drive.
So say that the fence again, I mean, is that gonna cover the whole distance or just a
It'll just
portion of
be
it?
the portion that is adjacent to Dennius Park. And Parks and Rec is agreeable to this proposal in lieu of the increase in the buffer width.
Okay.
The applicant has also submitted a landscape plan for the property. Of the required plantings for a development site, 40% of those are required to be in a buffer area. Like I mentioned, there are buffers required along the perimeter of the site except on the eastern portion. A total of 460 tree inches is required for the site, so that would require 110 of those tree inches to be somewhere within the buffers located on the site. The landscape plan that has been submitted allocates around 48% of those required buffer plantings to be planted along the western edge of the development, adjacent to the Hickory Woods Estates subdivision. The plat meets the requirements of the subregs for preliminary plat approval, and upon addressing staff comments, they're mainly typographical in nature. There is a condition that pedestrian access, an easement be provided between the development and Dennius Park, and the applicant has indicated their agreeance to do that.
Do you have any questions at this point? Applicant, do you wish to come first, or?
Brett Basquin with the Foresight Group, representing the applicant, who is Brad Dinnerstein and Linton Smith, who are the proposed developers on this site. We're here to hopefully answer any questions that come up and address those. I think some of the concerns that have been brought up, we've already been working with staff to address those items as well. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you all have. Thank you.
This does require a public hearing for Tiger Crossing subdivision preliminary plat. If you would, please come forward if you'd like to speak.
My name is Olivia Ingalls. I'm a resident of 370 Butternut Drive, and although I've only lived there a few months, I've loved this neighborhood since I was very young, and I'm really excited to be living there. I'm here today with many of Hickory Woods residents. If you guys will raise your hands, and our other supporters. And our hope today is to express our concerns, and if this plat does go ahead and be approved, we hope that our concerns and our conditions that we have that we think will improve this design are taken into your consideration. The first thing I want to talk about is the density. That's one of our major concerns with the connection to Hickory Woods Drive. It will dangerously increase traffic into the neighborhood due to the fact that we have no sidewalks, and our neighborhood is commonly used for walking, jogging, and children playing. The other thing that we want to talk to you about is the fact that they will likely be rented. This will be quite different from a single-family home and the people that you attract into your neighborhood. This will also not be in keeping with the architectural unique style of Hickory Woods. The site will also be clear-cut to make room for the 136 townhomes, and that will cause a significant loss of habitat and value to the surrounding homes. As mentioned on the agenda, this property was actually designated in the 2030 Future Land Use Comprehensive Plan to be low-density residential, which would be much more in keeping with the current Hickory Woods subdivision. Hickory Woods itself was actually designated as part of this plan to be a neighborhood conservation district, and we plan to go after that, and I've already gotten quite a few signatures for that. One of our main concerns is the buffering. The current buffering along the lots of Hickory Woods to the, I believe it's the west, is only 10 feet. Even if this was extended to 30 or 50 feet, the unique topography of the neighborhood, which if you've driven through, you'll see the houses are up on stilts, they're very high. Any amount of buffering would still ruin the view of the backs of those homes due to that. Not only does this development decapitate Dennius Park and the entire northern portion, it also takes away value from the homes, like I said, and it will greatly increase light and noise pollution. The applicant stated that they are providing a gross density of 6.5 dwelling units per acre, and while this does meet the requirement for a performance use in the CDD, I think we can all agree that it is not in keeping with Hickory Woods. This calculation is also done by taking the 136 units and dividing it by the total property acreage of 20.92 units. And this really is not a realistic representation of density. If you were to exclude all open space and stormwater pond areas from that calculation, your density would be closer to 9.9 dwelling units per acre. This area was actually meant to be a secondary phase of Hickory Woods, and I think that's important to keep in mind, that it was always intended that this would be single-family homes in keeping with the current neighborhood. This is not to mention that the occupancy in the CDD allows for up to 5 unrelated individuals to live in a dwelling unit. The increase in traffic could be more than 12-fold. We are very concerned about the danger of the traffic in this connection to Hickory Woods Drive. We thank you for your time and consideration. We hope that you take our issues into consideration. I'll be followed up by another citizen who has other concerns, and then he will be followed by someone who has the recommended advice that we have to in order to increase the I think we all just hope that you will take our considerations under account, and we have worked really hard to give you actionable items that you can actually use. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, y'all. Before we start the time, we actually had a presentation that was emailed earlier. If we could pull that up, please.
Yeah, so like I said, we weren't gonna include it, but everyone did receive the email, so they did see what you're talking about, so you can just reference it from your phone.
Oh, well, I don't have it on my phone. I thought you just said that we could pull it up.
No. So I guess since the decision was made just not to share the presentation.
Okay. Well, that's unfortunate because. Okay. Well, I guess we can start the time now. Hi, all. My name is Josh Poole, and my family has happily lived at 334 Hickory Woods Drive for almost 5 years. I'd like to thank you, the Planning Commission, and the city for giving us the time to comment publicly on this development. We want to make clear to you, the city, Mr. Baskin, Mr. Haley, that we are not NIMBYs, and we are certainly not your enemy. We are not naive to the right that a property can be developed in any way that the owner sees fit within the confines of the approval by the city. We want y'all to know that we are again extending our partnership in good faith as fellow stakeholders and with a unique neighborhood of experts that want to help in the design of a development on this property. To elaborate on this, I'd like to reintroduce you to Mr. Tante's Peter Redesign. It's not up there, but in partnership with Mr. Haley's engineers and designers of the previous plat application approved in 2020, if you got that email, you can see that the original plan of 45 quarter-acre lots of single-family homes is a much better fit with the zoning of the city's future plan. An important point I'd like to also highlight in the previous plan is the pedestrian park at the end of Hickory Woods Drive with a vehicle-rated pedestrian bridge and a removable bollard for service vehicle access. Also, a critical update Mr. Peters fixed that is also present on the current plan is the unconnective dated layouts of the dead ends and spur roads, which do not encourage increased ease of connectivity, traffic flow, or utilities. As Olivia previously pointed out, not only does this plan not appropriately fit with preserving neighborhood's character or current zoning, but also fails to provide sufficient open recreational space. The application packet claims 6.58 acres of open space, but only shows less than 2.38 acres of actual open space. Assuming this 2.38 acres does not also include parking lots, which would even further decrease this, the rest is not practical to consider open space, as it is buffers for ingress, egress, and utility outlets or utility layouts. I realize that impact studies for some reason are not required until later in the process, but I can't fathom how approval can even be considered with a lack of traffic or environmental impact studies. How can city planning in any capacity ethically approve a development with over 12-time traffic increase with no concept of that impact, along with the loss of 21 acres of mature hardwood forested habitat near the heart of the city with no idea of floodplain and wetland impacts or sediment inundation? We see this process repeated over and over again with this specific development type. I know this is outside your purview, but consider the irreversible and long-term consequence of this poor investment. Unfortunately, Copper Beach is a perfect example. Oops, sorry. I did something. Let me fix this. This property will only remain economically competitive for 10 to 15 years, in which case it will degrade and significantly depreciate, bringing all adjacent properties down with it, while also greatly increasing traffic, unplanned strain on utilities, and influx into local schools that were not anticipated because this property was intended for students and young professionals, not multifamily housing. Whereas a neighborhood of single-family homes, as previously approved, not only better fits the area, but also future plan of the city and will appreciate value. A lot of time, effort, and our taxpayer dollars went into the development of the city's 2030 master comprehensive plan. We constantly hear of overdevelopment and seemingly poor planning and approvals with no real trajectory other than growth. That 2030 plan provides a blueprint for the future, and I urge the city and the Planning Commission to hold to that. This high-density, high-performance development does not fit that, especially for the rezoning of low-density residential LDD. We realize the city's default to approval if there are no glaring conflicts. However, simply checking all the boxes does not truly merit in which these approvals are granted. Because if that were explicitly true, the Planning Commission, with all of you talented and qualified members, would have no reason to exist and could be replaced by an automated system. You, the Planning Commission, exist because you provide the necessary subjective humanity and reasoning to make these decisions. Just like in 2022, we are eager to work with the developer through this process, through DRT and beyond. It's a win-win-win for us, them, and the city. And what an excellent precedent that would set. Thank you to the Planning Commission and the city's planning department for all of your hard work and listening. And we want to build a partnership for something that benefits us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Rob Lyda, and I live at 375 Butternut Drive. I'm a longtime educator in the area and a resident. I share many of the same concerns that my neighbors have expressed previously, especially increased traffic that this high-density, high-performance development would put on our roadway. However, I'm also a realist, and I understand that many of our underdeveloped areas in the city will become developed over the next few years. When we spoke to the Planning Commission 3 years ago, you all expressed the same sentiment to us. Just as I don't want anyone to tell me where I can put a flower bed on my property, I know Mr. Haley does not want people to tell him what he can do with his property. However, we feel that the Planning Commission has an important responsibility to make sensible decisions for any land to be developed within the city for the vitality of the city, the safety, well-being, and livability of Auburn citizens. We realize that this 21 acres is prime real estate that will eventually be developed, but we would ask you to ensure that it is sensibly and safely developed for the benefit of Auburn citizens. With this in mind, we'd like to offer a few conditions for this plat. Provide continuous access on Hickory Woods for pedestrians, emergency vehicles, and city services, but not everyday road use. In our last conversation with the Planning Commission, it was expressed that the city wants more access points in neighborhoods. While we understand the desire to connect Kent Drive to Glen Avenue via Hickory Woods, it is not safe for the current residents of Hickory Woods and will further cause congestion at the Glen and Hickory Woods intersection. Dr. Peters, one of our neighbors, developed a plan for the previously submitted plat that would turn the end of Hickory Woods into a cul-de-sac with a bridge that connects the two developments. The bridge would primarily be used as a pedestrian crossing over the creek and would have removable bollards for city vehicles and emergency services. We submitted this drawing to the planning department, which you all have. This compromise would allow for greater connectivity and access from Kent Drive to Glen Avenue while limiting the amount of vehicle traffic that would be allowed on Hickory Woods Drive. We would like to ask that the buffer be increased from 10 feet to 25 feet to retain all current canopy coverage and vegetation with increased undershrubbery to retain privacy and inhibit light and noise pollution with a privacy fence on the other side of the vegetation buffer. The topography of the Hickory Woods neighborhood and the adjacent property will create challenges for the residents of Hickory Woods, Ivy Lane, and the residents of Auburn that enjoy Dennius Park. There will be increased noise and light pollution from the proposed high-density development. We feel that increasing the natural light buffer and providing significant fencing and vegetation will be helpful to the existing residents while also providing safety and security. Begin all construction at the Kent Drive location. Do not allow any connection to Hickory Woods Drive to happen until all construction is complete. Starting all construction at Kent Drive location is the only logical option that will allow the residents of Hickory Woods significant time to prepare for the connection. Also, for the safety of the residents, we ask that no construction vehicles use Hickory Woods Drive. This property adjoins commercial property owned by Mr. Haley and would allow greater access to the construction and services. In no way would it be appropriate to use Hickory Woods Drive as a construction entrance. Provide speed mitigation along Hickory Woods Drive. With the wideness of Hickory Woods Drive, there is a tendency for drivers to speed. For the safety of all current and future residents of Hickory Woods Drive, We ask that speed mitigation be put in place, that the new community be gated if the pedestrian bridge is refused. We also, since this is a continuation of our neighborhood, we would like access to all the amenities in the new development. If this development is to be in addition to Hickory Woods, then we, the original residents, would request access at no cost to all new proposed amenities. We realize that you must make many difficult decisions, and many people do not like your decisions. We want to thank you for your service and to our city and to Auburn citizens, but we ask you to think about every development you approve as if you lived by the adjacent property. I'm sure there are things that you love about your neighborhood, and there are multiple reasons why you choose to live where you live. Please take a moment to consider the mitigations you would want in place if a high-density, high-performance development were placed adjacent to your neighborhood. How would this impact the livability of your current neighborhood? All residents of Auburn want similar things. We want to live in a safe, secure, and livable city. We want our leaders to be thoughtful about all potential developments and their impacts on all residents. Thank you for your time and also for your service to the city of Auburn and its citizens.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak this evening?
Good evening. My name is Ron Shire. We have a property on Kent Drive, so just a little different perspective. First of all, I want to thank you. Thank you for earlier your actions about the aesthetic appeal on South College. That was very bold. I appreciate that. I have questions. I know I'm not allowed to ask, but I'm going to put them out there for the committee so I can understand.
Well, you can ask them.
I can?
You can
Okay.
ask them.
I thought, okay.
We'll answer them at the end. We just won't go back and forth with them.
Oh, okay. So standing on Kent, when you're on Kent and you're looking down, it's a downslope into this area where they're developing. So I just needed to understand, this buffer behind the places on Kent, how far they'll develop from there. Secondly, it sounds like it's going to be student housing. And evidently, maybe they can answer that. And then, is there a way to provide some kind of privacy for the existing homes on Kent Drive? Because you're looking literally down into where they're going to develop. So that's the questions I had. Thank you for your hard work. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Yes, please sign in. Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak on the public hearing?
I know most of you guys, my name's Tom Haley, but I think there's a few things, 5 quick points I'd like to make.
Your address, sir.
First of all, 5 years ago, I worked with these neighbors.
I do really need an address.
Oh, my address, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said. I thought you said something. 1695 East University Drive, which is, I'm adjacent property owner. I do not have personal ownership in this property any longer. Okay, so I want to make sure that, I do want to tell you the developer that's doing this is one of the finest in the nation. And you'll hear from them in a minute. You couldn't have a better developer on this. I own surrounding property to this piece, developed part of this. This was with the shopping center that we developed just to the east of this. But I've met with the Hickory Woods people 5 years ago, several times. I want to let you pass these out. We made them offer to finance it and let them buy this property and put the parks and the bird sanctuaries and the bridges in it, all they wanted to do. I want y'all to know that I do feel like they had every opportunity in the world to own this and it be financeable to them. The developments around this property, I've done many of those. I will tell you, some of those started in 1985. They have tripled in value. They're not going to go down. The Hickory Woods property, I worked with that developer. There was a tragedy there. And when he deceased, we took that property, tied it into the Tiger Crossing Shopping Center property. That was 31 years ago. This will be housing, not apartments, houses, I should say. If there's any questions about the quality of this development, you should look at this developer. They are top-notch across the world. We have actually not made deals with other developers. We know the sensitivity to hickory woods, and hope that those neighbors know that. I've met on their property 5 years ago, went through this 3 years ago with you guys, but I just want you to know that I don't personally own this property any longer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public hearing is still open. Anyone else would like to come forward at this time?
My name is Mary Abraham. I live on 338 Hickory Woods Drive. I didn't plan to speak, but I'm just going to say this one thing. Like, I'm just going to bring up something that when we were here in 2022, Mr. Estrip, I think you said something that we don't need any green spaces in Auburn. I don't know if you remember that, but if that were true, then we don't need Central Park in New York City. Okay, and I'm just saying y'all can buy the property from Mr. Haley. The city can buy it, and they can further develop Diners Park into a better park, and we can have like a Central Park in Auburn City. So I just wanted to remind you of that, and I know there are realtors, I think it's Ms. Reese. You found your website where you say we just need to knock things down and then build up from scratch. I mean, I don't agree to that. So I just wanted to bring up some of the things, like we care about our neighborhood. My children grew up there, they rode their bikes, they played on the street. And with this kind of high-density development, you are ruining Hickory Woods. You're absolutely ruining Hickory Woods. The traffic is going to increase, like my neighbor said, 12 times. It's going to be a mess. And you have to think about it. And like we've said, if this were happening in your neighborhood, would you approve it? I just like you all to think about that. If Mr. Haley or some developer came up and said they're going to put 136 homes in your neighborhood, high-density neighborhood, would you agree to it? And the other thing is we barely have elbow room in our neighborhood. It's already compact. And it's just a nightmare for us to think of this high-density development that Mr. Haley is proposing in our backyard. And Hickory Woods is my front yard. I don't have a front yard. That street is my front yard. I'd like you all to please keep that in mind. And that's all I'm just saying. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. At this time, commissioners, if you have questions, comments, and any response from applicant, if you would, please come forward.
Yes, so as I look,
Go ahead.
yeah, so as I looked at the proposal and drove the area, the big concern that I have is access to Glen and University Drive from this 134 home development that we're talking about. Hickory Woods is kind of narrow, right, and Kent Drive is narrow as well. And to me, it appears that those two streets are not adequate access for that additional load. I'm not a traffic engineer, or I don't know what the traffic study looks like, but that's the first thing that struck me as I reviewed the proposal.
Hi.
Good evening. My name is Brad Dinnerstein. I am the applicant, along with Brett and Linton Smith.
Wait. Did you close the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. You can only talk now if they ask you questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah. So if y'all have questions for the applicant, then you can ask them. I'm sorry.
Yes, please stay.
Please stay.
Will this be units for sale or units to be rented?
To be
as
rented.
As a multifamily?
To be rented.
Okay, it's multifamily development overall.
They're going to be cottages, single story, twin homes, and townhomes. Relatively low density. Obviously, everything.
Excuse us.
Obviously, everything per the CDD. We've had a great experience working with the city and the various departments to make sure that everything that we are proposing is in fact compliant with the current zoning.
Okay. Specific questions for the?
Yeah, so specifically, with regards to my previous comment about access to Glen and University via Kent and Hickory Woods, are there other plans for roads in that area to alleviate some of the traffic that, a layman like me can foresee.
Sure, I'll let Brett take that one.
Yeah,
And include the construction access. That I'm concerned about that.
yeah, that's fine. So, for one, there was a comment about an impact study. There has been a traffic impact study. It's been submitted to the city. City has reviewed the traffic study and has issued comments on it. In regards to sufficient access,
What does that traffic study say, Brett?
in regards to just the overall,
Just in regard to, for example, Hickory Woods and.
yeah,
Kent?
so overall, the access that the intersection of Hickory Woods and Glen would function fine. There's an existing turn lane in place. In regards to the Kent access on Donahue, the existing access point at Kent and East University is currently.
I'm sorry, can you put the approximate up while he's talking? There you go,
Okay.
thank you.
There.
So at the intersection of Kent and East University, essentially, the turn lanes are warranted in the existing condition there, and that intersection is in a failing condition in the existing.
So improvements will be.
So improvements will
needed.
be, yeah, so turn lanes, as a result of the traffic study, the city's wanting left turn, right turn, and a signal at East University in Kent Drive. In regards to confidence of size, Kent Drive was built under the old regulations. That road is much larger than what we would have to build in a traditional local street at this time. It's almost 10 feet wider than what we would normally build now. So in regards to sufficient space for maneuverability and all that kind of stuff, it's fine. Usually, typically, what the rule of thumb with the city is if we have about 100 units, once we get over 100 units, we want a second access point to get in and out. And we're at, 132, and you have 2 access points. So from that side, it's pretty good. The other part of that too is, depending on which way you want to leave here, you can kind of leave this area and kind of get anywhere without having to make a left turn if you really want to, right? If you're depending on where you're going, you can come out to go Glen if you're wanting to go back towards town. You can come out to Kent and go right through East University intersection, or you can actually loop over and get to Annaloo and get to the signal if you want to go left there. But now, a signal is going to be required, so most people are just going to go to Kent, go to the signal, and be able to get out. In regards to construction access, we've already talked with the city. We were planning on all construction activity coming in and out of the Kent Drive and not having any construction access go through the Hickory Woods Drive.
That's a good
We-
answer.
Does
Yeah,
that
so-
need to be a condition?
Well,
or
we've had
comment?
conversations. The other part of this is staff thinks of a lot of the stuff that the community brings up and is concerned about. A lot of this stuff is already thought out ahead of time, and we're already having communication, and we have agreements that, yes, we'll do that and that kind of stuff. I want everybody to think that it's like staff doesn't protect the city's best interest in a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff's well thought out and is talked about in these things. So yeah, we're fine prohibiting construction traffic from entering and exiting Hickory Woods. The other part of that too is some of the other stuff that was brought up in regards to speed mitigation, and that they don't have sidewalks and they all walk in the streets. Those are all avenues that neighborhood has to apply to the city and ask for sidewalks and ask for traffic calming measures to be done. There's guidelines in this current design guidelines in the city of Auburn that protect existing neighborhoods like that, and they can ask and request for that type of assistance in their neighborhood. They just have to ask. You know what I mean? And don't have to imply that new development's creating a lot of this stuff in some of these existing neighborhoods. So it sounds like that they have traffic and sidewalk issues in their own neighborhood. And ours, we're going to be providing sidewalks because that's what's required by code anyways. And we're doing it because we're trying to make it pedestrian friendly and for us to be able to have accessibility to all our open space. In particular, on our site, it's only 30%. We're well above our required open space. And a lot of our open space is usable open space in regards to where we have our amenity and we have other dog parks and everything scattered out around our development.
Yeah, how do you calculate that,
What do you
the
mean?
open space?
Open space.
There was a comment that basically said, well, it says 6 acres, but really only two. So I just don't know how you typically
Well, I mean,
calculate it.
you know, there's requirements that tell you how you have to calculate the open space. And essentially, I mean,
Yeah,
Justice
so
can answer that.
yeah. So open space is actually pretty stringent. To not get super technical, so there are different things like you know, like right now, like you can have detention ponds in it, but let's say like you dedicate a certain portion of an easement, or if you have an amenity area, all these things will subtract from your open space. So the calculation that she did put up of if you take away these things and then like you look at it this way, you could do that, but that's not the way it works. So the way that it does work for this one, it's just a pretty raw definition of here's the open space, green space that we have, and then also all of the significant buffers that you hear. Buffers also subtract from your open space as well, and then also with the amenity space. So in reality, when you actually look at it, the actual space where there are not structures and there isn't pavement, it would actually end up being greater than like what is the designated open space that's provided on paper.
Okay.
The other one was, you know, there were some conversations about buffering and those types of things. I mean, if you look at where our development is situated, it's situated more towards the middle. We're trying to preserve as much separation between us and our adjacent properties to the south, west, and north. And so we're trying to create natural horizontal separation, but we're also trying to save and preserve as much as we can. There's 80 feet of fall from the north side to the south side of this site. It's fairly significant that we're having to mitigate. So we're saving trees where we can save trees, working within those confines.
What about 25-foot buffer on the, I guess that would be the east side?
So, well, I'm glad you brought that up. So on the west side,
West
there's
side,
an existing stream over there. And within that existing stream, there's stream buffers. So in the city's requirements for that type of stream, there's a 25-foot stream buffer on each side of the stream, plus an additional 10-foot, what they call upland zone that prevents impervious surface area going through there. So a portion of that side of the west side already has a 25-foot buffer because there's a stream separating those homes and this site.
So will that 25 feet be consistent all the way across?
It's consistent for, let's see, probably the first 4 to 5, about halfway up, is where that where the stream is, where the defined stream is in the buffering. And then the last half, it kind of varies. Up to the north there, we're preserving a lot of that big open space. Up there is natural trees. It narrows down where we have some units, that one unit that abuts it, the closest unit on the corner there. But, you know, I would say 3/4 of that side will already have a 25-foot buffer in how we're proposing to do this, yes.
We're talking about the west still?
Yes, west,
Okay.
yeah, up against existing hickory woods.
The north up there where the street is, continuation against those homes on.
Those duplexes?
Yeah, on Kent.
Yeah, on Kent Drive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and those structures are closer to the street. You know, they have some huge
Right.
backyards that there's a huge separation of trees in their backyards before we even get to our
Okay.
parcel as well. But yeah, we're you know, so like.
Because that was asked.
Like Amber mentioned, you know, we're trying to, at the end of the day, most of our buffer yard plantings, 40, you know, a certain amount of our plantings have to be in the buffer yards. We are trying to put as much of those plantings as we can up against hickory woods to the west. The ones to the north, there are plantings up there, but they're going to be so far above us, they're going to be looking